everybody. Sorry, I'm still doing this, getting used to doing this on my desktop instead of my phone, and it's a little bit different. I'm in my guest bedroom. Sorry for the gigantic box of stuff behind me, but at least the bed's clean. So, I'm so happy to get on here tonight and talk to you, well, this afternoon, and talk to you a little bit about goal setting. So this is day 1 of our 5-day free challenge, and we're talking all about goals today, and then we've got some fun stuff coming up later in the week. But I wanted to kind of get started with goals because that's really where everything else kind of ties into, right? So just to kind of jump, well, before I jump into things, let me do a couple housekeeping things. So I've seen some comments from people saying that they're not getting the emails. I have set up an email campaign through MailChimp, which is just a email distributor, kind of like third-party company, and it says that they've all gone out, and they went out to whichever email address you put in when you signed up for the challenge. So I can try to manually send those as well, but just make sure it hasn't gone to your spam folder or directly to your trash folder. I know for me, I'm part of a couple different groups that use the same type of emails, like the automated emails, because it is automated, and so sometimes they get stuck in the spam folder. So just check that and make sure that that's not where they're living, and after you check that, comment back, because I know, Jacqueline, you had said that you couldn't see them, but I see there are 4 people on, but it doesn't tell me who they are. So if y'all could, if you don't mind, just say hi so that I know who's on, and I'm actually going to put this on my phone too, just so I can see, because it doesn't want to tell me who you are. So anyway, okay, so we're just going to get started with some of the, hey, Holly, there's Jacqueline. Okay, good, y'all can hear me too, that's good. So we're just going to kind of get started with the goal setting stuff. So I don't know about you guys, but I am so bad about always having this list of things that I want to accomplish and then feeling like I'm never getting anything done. It could be things that I want to get done today. It could be things that I want to get done this week. It could be things that are, you know, further down the road, which for me is even harder because it takes a lot of planning on the front end to reach those goals that are 6, 12 months out. And so it's really frustrating, right? It's very, I don't want to say defeating, but it kind of is sometimes. Like there are days that I have where by the time, hey Lindsay, by the time I get to that point, like at the end of the day, I'm like, what have I even done today? Like what, I don't even know what I've done with myself. Super frustrating. So, you know, sometimes those are little things that I've been trying to do to reach a bigger goal. Sometimes it's literally just goals for the day, because as busy moms, you really have to think through how to get things done sometimes, right? And, you know, there are days when it never fails, and I don't know if this is just me, but it seems to never fail that the days where I have so much to get done is also the day that a kid gets sick at daycare and I have to go pick them up. Or, you know, we have to rearrange something because there's something else that comes up in the schedule, some unanticipated, something at the house breaks and we have to wait on a repair person to come, or whatever it may be. Never fails. And so that really kind of takes a hit on my to-do list or my goal list or whatever it may be. So I'm sure I'm not the only one that happens to. Life can get really crazy. And when it gets crazy, a lot of times for us busy moms, the first thing that goes out the window is our own goals, right? The things that we want to focus on for ourselves. So I wanted to spend some time today just kind of talking about the way that I have started to set goals and why it's so important to me that people realize that you really can achieve a lot of those goals, even the ones that you set for yourself that are really far out, and kind of how you can make sure that you're working toward those and doing it incrementally instead of getting overwhelmed by, you know, the gravity of the goal, or, you know, the fact that it's so far out, you kind of talk yourself into thinking you have plenty of time, and then all of a sudden it's 2 days away from the day that you had set the goal to be, and you're nowhere near it. And that's really defeating too, right? Or you just give up halfway through because you're like, well, I'm never going to make it, so I'm just going to give up. I don't want you to ever feel that way. Sometimes we have to readjust our goals. I have to do it all the time. I have things that I want to get done at a certain point, and then I just realize that there's no way it's going to happen. And I have had to start to figure out, and that's kind of what we'll talk about very last, like why it's okay to fail. I've had to figure out, I've had to really talk myself into it, into being okay with that, because I'm type A personality, and I used to be a perfectionist. I will say that I've gotten much better about that because I've learned, especially with 2 kids, how to go with the flow a little bit better. And so we'll talk about some of that stuff at the end. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with the concept of SMART goals, but it's something that I learned in pharmacy school, and I've done a lot of mentoring for pharmacy students, and it's something that I kind of use with them, and somebody actually taught it to me when I was in pharmacy school, kind of looking at what the next step was going to be in terms of trying to figure out the best way to set goals. Because I feel like a lot of times what we do is we just set some arbitrary goal. We have a list, you know, we've got, let me see, where's mine? Let me show you what I carry around with me. So I have this notebook, and it literally, this is a new system that I started doing, but I literally, like, every day, whatever it is I have going on, I just write, and I put the date up at the top, and the whole day gets a page or multiple pages or whatever it is, and I'll put goals in here too. And so instead of having a bunch of papers all over the place, I kind of have them all housed in one book, and I'll update it every now and then. And so I go back and I look at those sometimes, and I remind myself, and I'll try to find, I should have had it marked, but I don't, another goal setting thing that I kind of did in here to show you, but it's goal mapping. And if I can't find it in here, I will send it to you guys. But it was also a very helpful kind of tool. But in terms of SMART goals, yeah, I can't find it off the bat. It was actually, oh, there it is. Yep, I'll show that to you in a little bit. Okay, so when it comes to SMART goals, you guys probably saw the graphic that I posted earlier about kind of what that acronym stands for. But they are goals that are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. I think some of the places where we miss the mark is we hardly ever put the timely part, and we'll talk about that here in a second. A lot of times we're not specific enough. We're very vague about our goals. We just have this list of things that we're like, I'd really like for this to happen. But then because we don't really flesh it out and figure out exactly what the little pieces are that need to be done to get to that big goal, we fail and we give up, or we get frustrated, or we're hard on ourselves. I don't know about you, but I am so hard on myself. I'm a bad comparer, and I'm trying really hard to get out of that. And it's something else that I want to spend some time in this group talking about, because I compare myself to other moms all the time. And so one of my goals is to stop doing that, because it's not good for anybody. But I feel like I do that sometimes with my goals too. It's like having this goal of, you know, I need to, I don't know, I can't even think of an example right now, but I mean, sometimes we have like materialistic goals, and that sounds so silly, but sometimes we do, and we're like, I want to drive some certain kind of SUV, or I want to move into a bigger house, or, you know, whatever they may be. Or you have internal goals that are about, you know, I want to spend more time with my kids, or I want to be nicer to people, or whatever it may be. Okay, so we've got all these kind of goals, but they're very vague. We don't really think about how we're going to get there. And so first of the year especially is when a lot of people set them, because they're resolutions. Everybody's got their New Year's resolutions. A lot of times health and fitness is on that list too. But then everybody's like, okay, this year, this is going to be the year I'm going to lose the baby weight, or I'm going to, you know, work out 5 days every week, or I'm going to eat better. And then we don't do anything to get there. We say, okay, I'm going to do it next month. Mondays are also notorious. As you can tell, we started this challenge on a Monday. Mondays are also notorious for this. We're always thinking, okay, well, if I mess up on like Wednesday, the whole week's shot, so I'm just going to wait till Monday. We need to kind of get out of that mindset and realize that every day is a new day, and we can kind of start over. So when it comes to the specific part of the acronym, I wanted to spend some time going through each of the different parts. So when it comes to being specific, you want to actually specify the who, what, where, when, how, or no, who, what, where, when, why, and which. So you want to define the goal without using ambiguous language. So you want to be very, very specific about exactly what it is. So instead of saying, I want to lose weight, you say, I'm going to lose X number of pounds. And you really think about why that is, like why that number. You know, maybe it's, I want to lose 10 pounds so I can fit into my favorite dress that I want to wear. Or I want to tone my legs so that I can feel comfortable in shorts for the summer. Or I want to free up an hour in my day every day that I can spend more time with my kids. very specific goals so that you're crystal clear on what it is that you want to accomplish. You need to think about who's involved. So take the time one, for example. If you're wanting to free up an hour a day to either spend time on you, spend more time with your kids, whatever it may be, what else needs to happen for you to be able to achieve that goal? Who else needs to be involved? A spouse. Is there daycare that, maybe they spend more time at daycare if that's possible? How would that look if you needed to have some more time for something? Who else would need to be involved in that decision? For me, a lot of times it's my husband, and I will say that I'm very fortunate in the fact that he takes on a lot of responsibilities at the house. And so because of my crazy schedule with being a graduate student, and I've been in this program now for 4 years, we do a lot of sharing of some of the responsibilities just because I end up having things at night that I have to go do, which is very hard with small kids. And so it's a lot of back and forth. And so he's the person for me that when I'm setting goals, I have to make sure that I'm crystal clear about how he can help me accomplish them. That's the other thing I feel like we don't do as much as moms is we don't always voice our goals to our spouse. We don't always say like, this is what I want to accomplish in this time frame, and here's how you could really help me do that. So anybody else who's joined, I'm just going to stop for a second. Anybody else who's joined, for some reason it's not showing me who you are, so if you just want to leave a comment as you come in to say hi, that would be super helpful. I don't know why the desktop doesn't do that. On the phone it would show me, but my phone's almost dead. That's how it always is. So anyway, okay, back to that. So who's involved? What do you want to accomplish? Where will it be done? And so sometimes you kind of have to think through some of those things too. If it's something that's very, hey Stephanie, very specific. Why are you doing that? Hey Kaylin, why are you doing it? I said that earlier. So be very specific about your why, because I feel like the more passionate you are about why you want to achieve that goal, the more likely you are to achieve it, right? Because a lot of times there's an emotional attachment for me, you all know, like a big part of my life is health and fitness. And we always talk about our why kind of with that stuff. And for me, I just got to a point where I was not comfortable in my own skin anymore. And I had gone from losing weight after having Amelia to getting pregnant again. And then my second pregnancy was so much different than my first in terms of like how my body shape changed. The weight didn't come off. It's still not really coming off very easily. And Theo's going to be a year in a month. And so I've got some very specific goals. And for me, I want to be able to wear shorts this summer. I hate wearing shorts most of the time because I don't like my legs. But I want to be able to wear shorts this summer. So I want to lose a certain number of pounds to feel comfortable. But I also want to tone up my legs so that I can feel comfortable wearing shorts. And so that means that I have to figure out what workouts I need to be doing. What's really going to maximize those workouts to really give me good results with that goal, when I'm going to do them, where I'm going to do them, how my husband can help me make sure I have time for them, how I can reschedule my day if I need to make sure they get done, whether it means getting up in the morning or, doing it at night or whatever. So it's thinking through all of those things, which sounds super overwhelming, but that's why I don't think we need to have 50 goals all at once, because it's impossible for anybody to do that, and you cannot focus on any one thing because you've got so much going on. I am a chronic yes person, which I'm sure some other people can probably relate to. I have a really hard time saying no, and so I end up with a full plate most of the time. And again, the first thing that drops off is anything that I want to do for me. Trying to get out of that too. So that's really what we're going to spend a lot of time in this group just talking about, is how to kind of get away from that. And that's what this entire week is about finding time. Like all of you lovely ladies that are on the call right now are taking the time to listen to this. And you may be multitasking, you may be doing something else, which I do every time I listen to a call, but you're doing it. You're doing something for you. And I want to applaud you for that. So good job. Okay, so the next part of it is that it needs to be measurable. That's the other huge, well, I feel like everybody has problems with different parts of goal setting, but you want to make sure that you can actually measure your goals. So you don't want it to be so ambiguous that you can't figure out how to track your progress. So there are different things that you can do. My approach to any goal, so I have goals, of course, that are health and fitness related. I have goals with school. I have goals from a professional level because I am a pharmacist and, I have a license that I upkeep. I'm not practicing currently, but I want to again at some point. And so I have goals with all of those things, and it's thinking through, okay, this is my big goal. Like, here's the goal at the top. What are all of the little sub goals? And I talked about this really early when we first started this group. What are the little sub goals that I have to accomplish that support that major goal? So, if I have a goal that's 6 months out, what do I need to be doing on a daily basis to get to that bigger goal? And so that's how you measure, because some things will come with numbers, some of them won't. That's how you measure. And so say you are wanting to improve your mood. This sounds so silly, but it works. So you're wanting to, for me, not snap at my kids as easily, or not feel as anxious, or not get as overwhelmed because of the number of things I have going on. If it helps you to journal, you can journal and you can write and you can see how many times you do that, and that can be how you measure. Or it may help you to listen to music, or it may help you to talk things out and schedule time in your day to be able to do, devotionals or the journaling, or, maybe it's engaging in groups or whatever it may be, but you want to be able to measure those things. So you have to make sure that you can track your your progress and measure the outcome. So whatever is at the end, kind of the pot of gold at the end of your rainbow, whatever that may be, you need to make sure that you'll actually know when you get there and you have something to work toward that's tangible. Because if it's not measurable, then you're really never going to know, okay, am I working hard enough toward this? Am I making any progress? And that's when you quit. When it gets to that point where you're like, I'm not seeing any changes, I don't really know how to measure this. And this is something I really kind of get on to people in the health and fitness groups about, is the scale, right? I'm going to do a whole post about this on my main Facebook page, and I'll share it with you guys in the group. But I'm actually in the process right now of tracking my weight every single day on the scale, because I want to show people what happens when you do that. And I'm going to kind of pinpoint as well, like, what happens on those days for me. So like, maybe I go completely off the rails with my eating, or maybe I don't work out, or whatever it is. Maybe I don't know, don't drink enough water, and just to show you and show other people how much you fluctuate, because it's all numbers. And so when things like that happen, you need to make sure you have other ways to measure progress as well. So we do some things called non-scale victories. So maybe you're not losing any weight on the scale, but you've dropped a pant size, or whatever it may be. So making sure you have multiple ways to measure if you can, if it's something that has multiple ways that you can kind of measure it. Another thing about me that you maybe didn't know is I have struggled since having Thea with postpartum anxiety. It's something else I'm going to post about at some point, but I have a counselor now that I've been seeing for about 6 months, and I actually recently got put on medication, and I'm the craziest pharmacist ever. I don't really like medicine for myself. That sounds really silly. But I'm always afraid I'm not going to be good at taking it, which also sounds silly because my whole job has been to make sure people take their medicine. But for me, it's just one of those things where, I don't know. I don't know. I know that sounds silly as a pharmacist, but it has been the best decision I've ever made. And so for me, I thought about it the other day, and I was like, I have not had a day in a very long time where I felt super overwhelmed or anxious. And that was a great measurement for me. Like, thinking through the number of days that I've had where I didn't feel like there was an elephant sitting on my chest because I had so much going on. And so I don't know, it's been really good for me. And so that's another way to measure. Sometimes you have those types of things. Okay. The next one is you want to make sure your goal is attainable. So you want to make sure it's actually realistic. The next one's relevant. So you want to make sure it's a realistic goal. So you want to make sure that it's reasonable, that it can be something that you can accomplish. And when we get to the time piece, you want to make sure that it's something that you can accomplish in the amount of time that you're saying you want to do it. My husband and I have a goal that before our child goes to kindergarten, we want to move into a different home. That's 2 years from now. If we were to say we wanted to do it next weekend, that would not be a realistic goal for us, because we haven't done any of the work that we would need to do. We haven't thought about we've looked around some places, but we haven't really thought about exactly where we would move. We haven't saved up money for a down payment on a new home. We haven't put our house on the market or gotten it anywhere near to where we could. So that would not be a reasonable goal for us. And we need to think through that every time we set a goal, is that we want to make sure that it's something that we can achieve, especially in the amount of time that we're saying, because that's how we keep it going. That's how we keep from getting frustrated. That's how we keep from getting off track, because it's something that we're like, okay, this makes sense. This goal makes sense. So you want to make sure everything is kind of in alignment. And so you want to make sure that you're setting goals that challenge you, that are good, goals that will really make you change, but that they're reasonable, because you don't want to set the bar too low, because then it's almost like with your to-do list where, and I know everybody does this, you always have those little things. You may have even already done them, but you write them down anyway, just so you can check the box. I know everybody's done it. I do it too. And so it's those little tasks that we do sometimes that we're like, oh, I got stuff done today because I marked off 3 things on my to-do list. And it was like, wake up, take a shower, and brush my teeth. Some days are like that, where you feel like that's all you accomplished, right? But not every day has to be. And so it's the same thing when it comes to goal setting, making sure it's reasonable, making sure it challenges you, but making sure that it's not something that's either too far below the standard or too high above it, if that makes sense. The other thing you want to make sure of is that it's relevant. So you want to make sure that it's actually worthwhile. You want to make sure that it's worth your time to invest in. So we may have some goals. Like one of my personal goals is at some point I want to learn calligraphy. I think that would be so fun to know how to do that. Do I have anywhere in my life right now that I would need that skill? Not really. But I think it'd be fun to learn. It's one of those things that I'm like, I would love to know how to do that. But right now, it's not really relevant. It's not worth my time. I'm not addressing invitations to people for a wedding, or I'm not going to start a business where I do that for other people. Like it wouldn't make sense for me. It would just be a fun hobby. And let's face it, with kids, you don't really get time for fun hobbies. You do sometimes. My kids are my fun hobby. So, so that's something you always have to think through with your goals. Now, sometimes, I will say this, you may have goals that are like that. They're hobby related or something that you are using as a de-stressor. And so if your goal is to be less stressed in your life or throughout the year or whatever it may be, sometimes setting those kinds of goals is very helpful, because maybe that's what you're going to do for yourself to make yourself less stressed. Maybe you're going to take up a hobby like that. Tons of people love to crochet and knit, and then you've got this cute little, either baby hat or little booties or whatever it is you decide to make, but you've got like a tangible product by the end, and that gives you a sense of accomplishment, right? Goals are the exact same way. So if it's something that you're using from that standpoint, then of course it's relevant to you. So thinking through things from that standpoint, does it fit with your immediate and long-term plans? So is it something that right now makes sense for you? For me, I've got a lot of school-related goals, and so I'm really wanting to be done with my program soon. I'm graduating with the master's in May. I still have to submit my thesis document. I've defended it, and it was accepted. I just have to submit it. So I know that's one of my goals, is to get that submitted actually in the next week. And so that is a goal that makes sense, because it's something that, I need to have it done by May 5th, I think. But I want to get it done this week because it's in alignment with the other things that I'm doing. It is definitely doable because it will force me. I don't know if anybody else works better under pressure, but I know I do, because I'm also a procrastinator. I'm always super busy, but half of it's because I procrastinate. I create it for myself. But it's in alignment with where I'm going. It's in alignment with the larger goal of graduating with my master's, and then I'm hoping in a year and a half-ish to graduate with my PhD. But there are a lot of little spokes in that wheel that need to get done too, right? So it's making sure that whatever you're doing is relevant. And then the last part, which is something I feel like people never do, is making it timely. So you always, always, always want to have some sort of time limit or date or something set for whatever it is that your goal is going to be. So I think it's very, very important to have short-term and long-term goals, because a lot of times you can align them as well. So your short-term goals may help feed into your long-term goal. But I feel like that's how we stay motivated. So you may have goals that in the next 2 weeks, this is what I want to accomplish. And you need to put a date on that. You need to say that by April 14th, I want to accomplish this. And so you've got that laid out, and you put it in a planner, you put it on a Post-it note that you stick somewhere where you see it every single day. you do something, whatever it may work for you, that will put that forefront in your face all the time so that you know this is what I'm working toward. You may have goals that are a little bit longer out. So maybe for the month of April, this is what I want to accomplish. And then you have goals that are even further out. So in the next 6 months, this is what I want to accomplish. And you say, okay, by, whatever date, I want to have these things done. And so you think through those things. So for me, I want to graduate by, I'm giving myself until August of 2018. So then you think backwards. You plan from that date backwards, and you think, what little things need to happen? So for me, graduate in 2018. That means I need to have finished my comprehensive exam and done my dissertation. The comprehensive exam is just setting a date, so I'm probably going to do that this summer. The dissertation, I have to propose an idea, I have to do the research, and then I have to defend it. So those are all things that have to happen in that order. So I have to think back timeline-wise, when do I need to propose the idea to give myself long enough to defend it, or to do the research and defend it to meet that goal of August 2018. So you have to have a plan. And so it's almost like you have a big goal at the top, and then you have the little check boxes under it that's like, okay, got that done, got that done, got that done. And eventually those are the things that keep you motivated, are getting all those little things marked off. And then before you know it, you're at the date that you wanted to have your goal set, or that you set your goal for, and you're there. And it's much less overwhelming than setting these huge goals and then never looking at them again. And then you feel like you failed. And we're going to talk about why failure is okay, but you don't always have to. And I think for me, that was always the discouraging thing. So I know I always go back to health and fitness, but I think it's just such a good example. I have struggled with my weight since I've always been self-conscious. So I was self-conscious about it even in high school. But I really, looking back now, I've just always been like an athletic build. And so I think what I was self-conscious about was just the fact that I've never been super skinny, and I never will be, just because of the way I'm built. So I've always had, like, my legs have always been thick, if you want to say that. But I've always struggled with my weight. And so for me, I would always set these goals of like, I'm going to lose 60 pounds, and I wouldn't put a date on it. And I would just say, I want to lose 60 pounds. And then I would lose 5, and I would be motivated to lose more, and then I would hit a plateau and I would gain 10. That happens to me all the time. I lost 10 pounds I think it was October, when I weighed exactly what I weigh right now, because I had lost 10 pounds after having Theo, and I was doing great over the summer, great early fall, and then football season, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and I gave up on my goals, and I gained all of that weight and some back. And now I'm having to re-lose it. And so I set these like huge goals, and then I wasn't doing anything to like set the little mini goals to get me there. And so you get discouraged, and I don't want that for anybody. So really, really, really thinking through, what are my goals? What really matters to me? What do I think I can accomplish? Although I think you can all accomplish anything that you want to. I will totally be that person who's like, you want to be president? Go for it. You want to be an astronaut? Go for it. My kids will always be in that kind of mindset where they can do whatever it is they want to do. And I think that of adults too. I mean, I feel like we always are so hard on ourselves and think that once we're into something, we can't do anything else. I'm a living example of somebody who had a career, a full-time job, and it wasn't my jam. What I was doing was not fulfilling me from a quality of life standpoint, and I decided to do something different. And so I had a goal, and I figured out what it was, and now I'm working toward reaching that goal. It's been a very long process, but I'm getting there. So I think sometimes we're not good about giving ourselves enough credit. So it's really thinking about what matters to you as a mom, because we're in we've just got an interesting role with being a mom, right? Because it's not just you're taking care of. You've got all these other people. Sorry. And so it's really thinking through, okay, what matters to me? What are my goals? What do I want to accomplish, and how can I get there? Setting these specific goals using the SMART method every single time, and really thinking through them. I think it's really important. So the other thing I wanted to talk about is why it's okay to fail. And you've probably heard this from a ton of people, that you learn from your failures. You really, really do. I cannot tell you how many times I have fallen flat on my face, and I'm super self-conscious about stuff like that because I, again, compare more than I should. And I'm always looking at other people and I'm like, oh, how does she have it all together? I feel like a hot mess all the time. All the time. And I see people around town and I'm like, oh my goodness, she just had a baby like 2 months ago and she's already lost all of her baby weight. And I had a baby 11 months ago and it's still here. And, I've had a lot of issues with this recently, and I don't know if anybody can relate to this, but when it comes to comparing myself to people I graduated pharmacy school with, because I have taken such a detour in my postgraduate career, there are people I graduated pharmacy school with that are doing some amazing things. And I get a little jealous every now and then because I'm like, oh, I wish I was doing something like that. But I just have to keep reminding myself that where I'm at is different and what my goals are different. And I have to focus on me and I have to focus on my goals, how I'm going to get to them, what's important, what my little checkbox things are. But it's okay to fail. It is okay to set goals. And I'm not going to say not achieve them, because I think if you set a goal that's really important to you, like if you're using this method and you set a goal, then it's something that you really want to achieve, that you should achieve it. But sometimes we fail. We take, 2 steps forward and 3 steps back, and we have to realign what our goals are. So maybe you tweak the goal a little bit. Maybe you extend that timeline. Maybe you realize that the little sub goals that you were using to get you there aren't going to get you there and you need to change them, or you need more of those sub goals, or maybe you need more people to help you, or whatever it may be. But it's thinking through some of those things and how you can get that support and what you need to do to that goal to make it more achievable for you. Sometimes we do set goals that are way, way too lofty, and we need to scale it back a little bit and say, okay, this is still going to be a challenge for me, but I can do this goal first. And then if I still want to get to whatever that next goal is, then I can do that. So I have some goals, like for me personally, of what I want to do when I get done with my PhD. I've got a lot of goals of some things that I think would be really awesome to do and I would love it, but I also have to be practical. And so I have to think through, what are the steps, what are the other goals that I need to accomplish first before I can spend some time focusing on those other kind of more lofty goals. So that's the reason why I think it's okay to fail, because you really do. And don't ever say fail. Like, I know I use that here because it's kind of a wow word for people, because they're like, oh, fail. Like, nobody wants to fail. Nobody does. And so I don't think that you need to look through the lens of failure when it comes to that. Like stumbles, we have, roadblocks, we have detours, I know I'm using all these like driving analogies, but I mean, essentially that's what it is. We have things that get us off track, and that is A-okay. But the thing that you need is to make sure that you have a way to get back on track. So whether that's accountability from other people, whether that's, using your spouse, whether you can self-motivate and figure out exactly how to do that. For me, a lot of times it takes seeing somebody else who's got the goal, who has accomplished the goal that I want, that really gets me fired up, which when it comes to coaching happens a lot, because there are people that are a lot better at it than I am, I feel like. And so when they accomplish things, I'm like, I need to do better too. And so it's learning from that. It's learning from, the times that you feel like you're not accomplishing your goals. It's learning from other people that have goals that are similar to yours and how they're accomplishing them, and just kind of taking a page from their book. Don't be afraid to ask people for help. Don't be afraid to ask them how they're reaching their goals or how they're getting there, because people love to share. They really do. Some people don't, and those people, they're mean, and we don't want to be friends with them anyway. But for the most part, especially for me as a mom, and in this group in particular, I will always share with you. I will always, if I'm doing something and you're like, hey, I want to know how she does that, I'll share with you, because that's what I feel like this group is for. We're here to support each other. And so I think I told you guys this back at the beginning. I really want to start doing a day during the week that's going to be all Q&A. And so all the questions that I kind of accumulate during the week, I want to do, either on probably Tuesday or Thursday, answer all those questions so that everybody can hear the answers, and we can just kind of go through some of that stuff, because I don't want anybody to struggle. So when it comes to goal setting, it's something that I'm really passionate about, if you can't tell, because I just think it's so important. And I think it empowers us as moms to have goals and to crush them, to literally crush them. to make us more confident in ourselves, in our abilities, in our parenting, in, you know, anything that we want to do, because we're all busy moms and we're here to support each other. I'm here to support you. But I want you to feel good about yourself, and I want you to hit some of your goals so that you know you can do it, because you can. So that's my little pep talk. So, okay, I wanted to share something else with you real quick, and then I'll tell you what your kind of assignment is for participation for today. But this is something that I saw on YouTube, and I will try to find the YouTube link. I think it was YouTube. But it's essentially a way to set goals, and mine have changed since I did this. I don't even remember. Let me see what date this is. So this was back in January, but this is Ashley's 2017. But it's like a little thought bubble. And so it shows you personal life, school, save, when it comes to money, home, business, and all of that. So out of that, like out of my big major things, I've got smaller little bubbles. And then off of those, I have other spokes that just say kind of what I'm wanting to accomplish. And so because I have those smaller goals, so I've got, you know, big goals, smaller goals under those, and even smaller goals under those, I can think through, okay, what are the steps that I need to accomplish to hit those goals? And it's really helped me from a visual standpoint to look at things. And I actually need to look at it and figure out which ones I've gotten done. Because on here, I have under mentoring, I want to blog. I started that last week. So I'm proud of myself for that, because it's something that's actually been on my to-do list for forever. I had a blog right after I had Amelia. I actually think I started it when I was pregnant with her, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I've gotten out of it, and it's one of the things that for me is therapeutic, and so I love doing it. And so I'm proud of myself because it's one of my goals that's on here that I wanted to accomplish. So it's a great way to kind of visualize if you're a visual learner like I am. Some other things that I've done when it comes to goal setting is I have had a Word document. So I had to do this when I worked at Purdue. We kind of had to set goals for ourselves every year as a faculty member. And so I would have a Word document that had the big goal and then the little goals and then little goals under that I could actually check off. So it's really whatever works for you, but I want to encourage you to have somewhere to go to find what your list is, because you need to have a list. You need to think through these goals, and you need to start working toward achieving them. So, okay, so task for today, and I'll post this to kind of as its own graphic later, but I want everybody that is participating in this challenge to come up with 2 goals. So I want you to post a short-term goal, and that would be like a month or less, we're going to say, and then a long-term goal that's either 6 months or more. I want you to use the SMART method to come up with what that goal is, and I want you to share it with us and let us know what that goal may be. I think it's so important to do that, and I also think it's important to voice it so that you have some accountability. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to like come knocking on your door making sure that you're doing it, but I think it makes you feel like you need to achieve it if you voiced it to somebody else instead of just having it in your notebook or in your head, because you then kind of feel like, okay, I've told somebody I need to do this, so I should probably do it. And if you want me to help you with that, you let me know, and we can talk about ways that can happen. But I would love for everybody to share. So 2 goals, 1 long-term, 1 short-term, and we can kind of go from there. And I can give you some feedback on your goals and help you think through a little bit more kind of how to make them more specific if you need to, putting a time on it, thinking about how to measure it, those kinds of things. So let me know what you need from that standpoint. Does anybody have any questions before I get off? I didn't do too bad. It was about 40 minutes. I wasn't as long-winded as I normally am. So I'll wait just a second to make sure. So this was awesome, guys. Thank you so much for being on. I was a little scared. I don't really mind going live so much, but this is the first time I've ever done anything like this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, well, if there's not any questions, I am going to get off here. My kids should be coming home in the next half an hour probably. And then I've got, hey, thanks, Holly. I've got a call to get on tonight at 6. So I need to stop having all these calls at night. Stinks sometimes, but that's okay. Especially at 6. 6 is a hard time to do a call because my kids go to bed. Let's see, Theo goes to bed around 7:30, and then Amelia has been a night owl here lately. She just turned 3 on Saturday and is like, I'm going to stay up until like 9 o'clock. which makes her really tired in the morning. She is totally my child because this morning she was like, you had to fight her to get her to wake up. And I was like, I'm sorry, you got that from me. So anyway, okay. Well, thank y'all again for being here. I'll post the assignment. I sound like such a teacher. This is my teaching faculty mode coming out. But I'll post it for you guys so you can see it. Again, everybody who participates in the challenge fully, that is registered and does everything every day, you're going to be entered in to do a call with me that I'm going to be gifting by the end of the 5-day challenge. And I'm also going to share, whoever ends up winning that, I'm going to share my 20 favorite clean eating recipes with you too, because I have gotten a nice little collection of them. So it'll be good. So anyway, all right, y'all let me know if you have any other questions, but I hope you have a great night and thanks for being with me. Bye.